Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Welcome in. That song always fires me up. I don't know what it is, but it always fires me up. All right, guys. Today, welcome to our Advanced Insight series. My name is Eric Huber, technical editor here at TOA Electronics. And we're going to be discussing a unit that we came out with recently within the year, the A-800D series, our digital mixer amplifier series. Ranging from 120 watts all the way up to 480. So a great all digital unit with DSP built in, really great functionalities, very versatile, very convenient. And we'll talk about all those conveniences and how powerful it really is if you guys really know what it can do versus some of our other units in our lineup, you know, where you might want to use this versus the alternatives and so on and so forth. We have Jim McKinnons coming in today. He's our systems design specialist. And also we might have Dan Shore come in. I'm not sure. I was pinged during the intro that he might pop in and get in with this discussion. So we're looking forward to that. All right. Before I introduce Jim, guys, InfoComm's coming up. I don't have all the information. We'll throw it in the chat though. We're going to be there June 8th to June 10th. Booth number. We'll make sure that goes up in the chat as well as the registration link. So we're very excited. Dan and Jim will be there. So if you have any questions about this unit or anything, obviously, they'll be able to help out. This unit won't be there, but we'll have information on it. If you guys have questions regarding this webinar or systems examples or where you think it might be a good idea or a good fit, they can answer those for you. So again, the versatility of the series, including one of the big features that I love about this unit is that it lives on a network. So you can access this unit from anywhere in the world, which is awesome. And it gives you real-time feedback in the interface. So the interface is a browser-based interface, meaning that you don't need a device or an operating system to run it. You can just use any browser on any device via IP address, and you're good to go. And then Jim, or perhaps Dan, if he's here, we'll talk about typical designs where this was used. We had a couple big projects, you know, where this might be a better fit as opposed to perhaps maybe a BG series or our old 700 series, which is this is technically replacing that. And you know, the applications where this has succeeded in, maybe some feedback as well from the field. All right, let's introduce Jim McKinnons. Jim, how you doing?
I'm good, Eric. Thank you.
All right, cool. Jim, you ready to dive into this?
Hey, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it.
Cool. Jim, let's start off because I briefly mentioned the 700 series and
right.
Which had a long, successful run here at TOA. Good unit.
Yeah, good unit.
Built like a tank. Can you give us a little history on what this actually takes the place of and walk us through some of the new features and the new benefits, you know, the key points, why this unit is so special and where it compares to the replacement product that it is actually replacing. Yeah.
So the 700 was kind of a culmination of a concept from our 900 series, which is still in our product line. But it was designed as an all-in-one. In other words, when you purchased it, it was pretty much ready to go out of the box, had all the main features and functions, and it did still provide you one module slot. So if you wanted to customize it with a particular module or something, you could do that. So you know, the 700 was out for quite a number of years. And so, you know, technology has changed, demand has changed, feature set, you know, needs have changed. So they took a look at the 700 and say, well, how can we update it to encompass, you know, more of what we do? So what they did is the concept was, well, let's keep the 700 concept all in one out of the box the same. But let's change it a little bit because everybody's looking for what? Control. So, you know, can we do control or certain status checks via an Ethernet connection? So that was, you know, a big topic. And then the other thing would be is, well, you know, out of however many channels, you know, we have on there, how many do we use as regular inputs versus others? So they decided, well, instead of one module slot, we're going to give you two. So essentially the machine comes out as an all-in-one 6-to-1, 6-channel in, 1 channel out. And then the 7th and 8th channels are customizable by module. So that's kind of a big deal because of doing wireless. We offer now for our users a wireless module to go into the back of the mixer, so you don't have to have a separate unit in a rack or whatever. You can all be part of the same setup. And then in addition to that, since so many phones are going SIP-based, we use our SP11N SIP module that goes in there. So think of it as now we have an 800 machine. We can put a SIP module in there, communicate to your phone system. We can put a wireless mic in there, so now you can do presentations. You have 6 other inputs to do other, audio inputs or microphones or anything like that. And then at the same time, it can live on a network, so status checks can be done remotely. Very big deal for our installers, and we can go into that more.
Cool, excellent stuff. Yeah, Jim, let's dive into, you kind of rolled into it with the multitude of input options, control options, things like that. The idea of everything being in one chassis, right? So you're not adding different units, whether that be an amplifier, a DSP unit, or perhaps whatever that may be. There's many things. Also, the built-in chime system, right?
Right, that's also true. So we've taken some of the features and bake them into the unit. So in the past, if you wanted to do a chime, we'll call it a doorbell, right? So if we wanted to do a doorbell, we would put an SO4 or an SO2 module in a 700 series and you would get that. But now you've taken up that slot. And what if you wanted to do, a SIP module or something like that? So now, what do you do about that? So what they did to take it a step further, they took our SO4 module basically and incorporated it within the mixer. So that's one less feature that you have to purchase, number one. And then it doesn't take up the very important module slots for customization of special features. So it's very useful that way. And we've also incorporated contact closure output that can be set to a priority. So this way, when you're doing a page, what happens when you're downstream and somebody's put a wall attenuator, right? If you turn the wall attenuator down, you're turning down the music, you're turning out page and all of it. So now with that contact closure and using the appropriate wall attenuator, which in our case is the AT100 EMG, well, now when you do paging, you don't lose the page in your system, because it will override the AT controller and the page will still go through. Once the page is done, now it comes back to music, just like you would want.
Yeah. There's also an emergency level of priority, right?
Right. You can set emergencies and priorities in there. I can do a little bit of screen share later to show some of those screens. But yeah, you can set all of that stuff in there. There's ducking as well.
Yeah. So Jim, sticking on the subject of convenience, we started off the conversation with the remote maintenance and how powerful it is to access the system from anywhere over network, which is a great thing. And you'll show that briefly as we go on. But let's talk about where maybe you've seen these. Where do you see this unit in an ideal setting? Maybe some projects you've created that you can discuss. Anything that in a real world setting is what I'm trying to get some information on.
So another thing that we've done in the design of the 800 series is we've taken it a step up in power as well. So the old 700 series ranged 60 to 240 watts. The 800 series now ranges 120 watts to 480 watts. So that opens the door for a lot of paging applications, especially for stores or mid-sized warehouses where you want to page out into a large warehouse using a single channel amplifier. You now have the means by which to do that, and mix other things in there as well. They could have music, yet they could still have page, all in a single box. You don't have to have multiple boxes, multiple amps. So there's a lot of power on that. And then on your other point is, so, you know, you install this thing, it's working fine, and you get a call that says, hey, it's not doing this or whatever. Well, for the standard installer to roll a truck's $400 or $500 to go see what's going on. Well, now you can dial into the box, work with the IT department of the locations where it's installed and gain access. And now you can see the status, what's going on, what the priorities are, if something was changed or somebody, there changed it. You can see what's going on. So that way you may not have to roll the truck. You can just tell them, hey, flip this switch, turn this up, whatever. Is it working now? Yes, it is. Good. So it saves a lot of time for the installation company, and it's a bonus to the customer because they get insta service.
Yeah, great feature on this unit is it's always running, so you can always access it over network, right? And unless the actual power supply is pulled physically.
Well, it'd be the equivalent of it being unplugged at that point.
Yeah, correct.
So the CPU is always running, so you always can gain access.
Exactly. Okay. All right, Jim, let's actually, Jim, do you have any images of the front panel and back panel, just so we
I do. Let me share that with you right now.
Let's do that. And in the meantime, Jim, I believe you got somebody that said hi in here. I thought I saw the chat. I could be wrong. Yeah, Phil Teresio, if I'm saying that correctly.
Hey.
Phil says hi.
Yeah, great. Hi back. Talked many times. So here you go with the front panel. Okay. So very similar to the 700 series, right, with all your input knobs, right? And now, of course, you have your modules. And then bass and treble have been brought up as large knobs, so it's not a recess. And then your master volume on the front panel. And then importantly, in the upper right, you now have your status information with a series of lights. You always want to see that CPU is running, right? But then you have priority and emergency. Your LAN connection will light up if it's there, and if the machine's having some sort of a problem. Thermal protect if it's too hot. Over current, what would that mean? Typically something happened at the install, maybe a wire got shorted or cut, that type of thing. And then an error if there's a problem in operation. So that's the front panel. It's very simple, easy to understand, and there's a quick reset button on the front if needed. Usually is not, but it is there. All right, here's a direct on view if that helps our viewers a little bit. Just same thing, a little bit bigger. But the next one is kind of the one that everybody likes to see, is like what's on the machine. So here's a picture of the back panel. Uses a standard IEC power cord, and then on the left is your speaker connections here. And the idea here is you want to decide, you want low impedance or high impedance. So we can drive 4 ohms, but usually this machine lives in a 70 volt environment. So that's typically the position is 70 volts. Please keep in mind when you change that, should you change it depending on your application, make sure the power is off before you do that. All right. So then you have a bunch of dip switch settings here. As you mentioned before, your chimes are set in, so you can see you have 1 note, 2 note, or 4 note, very similar to the SO4 module, right? And then you have your module settings for priorities, etc. And then your emergency out, right? Your remote volume, your contact closures are all right here. You can adjust your chime volume from the back panel. Ducker depth, so this machine does do ducking. So when you're doing priority paging, you choose what level that's to go at. Of course, you have your LAN connection here at the bottom, and then your regular connections, your input 1 and 2 over on the right-hand side here. Those are set up so that you can do mic or line, your choice, and then whether you need phantom power for condenser mics, etc. 3 and 4 are mic inputs specifically, and again with phantom power. And then the last ones are 5 and 6, which would be you're going to choose whether you're going to be on the audio side of the camp or the ducking side of the camp, depending on your operation. and whether you're, the appropriate input, whether it be RCA or balanced line. And lastly, you got your module slots over to the right. So you choose what to put in there. And a beautiful thing that you can stick in there are our custom modules, right? So if we go to our module set, we can look at something like this, which is the module, which is our wireless module option. All right, so here's a condition where you can use remote antennas on there, and this has up to 16 channels. So it's a beautiful pairing to that particular machine.
Jim, pull up that back panel one more time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I should be able to here. Where did it go? Over here. No. Okay, let's see. Problem is, it doesn't let me always. So let me go back to the back panel this way. Bear with me.
Yeah, I just want to show the audience the difference here on the back panel. There's something missing that I want to point out, and that's going to be the programming of priority and different things and different settings. The only dip switches you actually see on there are for the chime module, essentially.
Right.
But all the priority override or your paging overrides, your emergency settings, your DSP functionality, that's all done digitally, right? So under the hood, within the unit, but controlled by IP. So let's get into that. Jim, I believe you might have a couple slides on the GUI itself.
Yeah, I actually have the unit up as well. And we can go
you're connected.
Into it. Yeah. So
all right, so Jim, let's log into one and let's take a peek.
So what I have here, just before we jump into it, just to make mention, you have your contact closure, input contact closure control for priorities over here on the right. Those are set up from the factory for priority contact closure. So people asked us for Vox. Vox is settable. That's within the GUI software. So default is contact closure. Vox is set within the software parameters, just so that we have that. All right, let's see where this guy. No, I lost it. I didn't.
Also, while Jim's doing that, this is also IP controllable. So for any third-party controllers, we do have an IP configuration manual for HTTP commands and whatnot on the website, either via the data library, I believe, or on the A-800D series site.
So here we go. I got back into it. I lost the position there. I apologize because of the control panel came up. But here's your status indicator on the mixer itself. So when you log in, administrator and guest are the default username and password. So you just get in there, and here you can see your audio levels, your ducking, your chime, what's going on. It's all reported back. And then you have a volume control that you can control within the software, which is this guy right here. Okay, and then you can see what your current input and output statuses are. So if we had music playing or something going on, you'd see these bars would be live going back and forth.
And Jim, that's via the auto sync. You have to make sure the auto sync is selected.
Right, right. So to operate it, you would put auto sync on.
Yep.
So
also, guys, if you're getting any faults or negatives or overcurrents, the upper right hand corner, the overcurrent and thermal protect will actually blink red, Jim, or light a solid.
You'll get an indicator that there's a condition that you want to check into, right? So so this is the main status page, which is where you want to be, right? Is it in overcurrent, like you say, thermal protect? What's going on? What's the value of your output levels, things like that. Your auto sync that you mentioned is so that you're in the same tune with the machine, not that you're in the static mode. So looks like my buddy Angel's changing a few things there.
You got signal going through. Very nice. So there you go, guys. That's real time. I mean, as close as it can possibly be, but that's something that we didn't have available on a lot of our mixer amps. Even the 9000 series doesn't have this capability. Where this came from, Jim, if I'm not mistaken, is the AMCF1 or AMIA.
I'm sorry,
this real-time viewing or reading. You see this with the AMCF1
Yes.
correct? The Lanubio
Yep.
is a better name, or the
So-
Amio unit as well.
Yeah, so everybody's looking for, real time, so they wanted to, do that. So here's the example of real time situation, so you can see what's going on without taking that trip up to the location, right?
Exactly.
Do we want to get into other features at this time, or?
I think that's good. You can also kill the channels right below. There's some muting if you want to just completely
Right.
cut them off.
Right.
But yeah, let's get into the EQ.
Okay.
And because this is very important, right? So let's talk about this.
Yeah, so here you have, let's say, standard EQs that you can set. So here would be, the idea is, you want to create a high pass filter. You may want to adjust a point somewhere in the middle, and then a high pass filter where you need to cut it off. Or what happens if you, tone out the room a bit, you find out, well, this particular frequency is kind of a problem. So here, now you can come in and make yourself a notch filter, right? So you do minus 15 dB. Now you have a nice sharp notch at 1,000 hertz in this particular application. So you have the ability to take out, if there's a ring in the room that's creating a feedback or something, you can adjust that. You can, have multiple PEQs in here to make those adjustments. In addition to that, we have dynamic feedback, seven points of dynamic feedback. So if you get a pure tone that comes through for whatever reason, the machine will pick up on that and set a notch filter to cut that out.
Automatically.
This is all, the dynamic is automatic. So you can clear the filters to, purge history, but it's always on, it's always live.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Jim, let's proceed to real quick on the priority settings.
Sure.
Yeah, and then we'll just discuss what you can do here.
Yeah. So you have your E, which is stands for Eric, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So you have your emergency input, I should say, and then all these other ones here for input 2, control, etc. So it depends on what you want to do and how you set it. So, obviously a line through the chime means the chime won't be active on that one. If you don't have a line through it, then it will be active. So you can set what's going on for your various inputs, but importantly, over on the right-hand side, you have to make sure that the status of the particular priority you set is labeled as valid. Okay, so if
And Jim, how do you make those edits?
so you go into the edit.
There you go.
And here's where you can change things to be invalid or valid, depending on what you need. So you can change all of these and effectively change the order of who's doing what. So you choose what pieces get checked off. You can adjust any of this stuff. All right, and then
You can also move the priority levels, correct, Jim?
Yep.
The priority swap. Yep.
Yeah, priority slot. So all of this is adjustable. And when you do the change and hit apply, it will go and set it, and the machine will then essentially do a quick reboot to set it all up and get it out there.
Cool. And Jim, 2 other quick things. We have the network setting, guys. If you're going into an existing network and you guys want to set a custom IP, you can do that all on the screen. You can also name the units and change your username and password as well.
Absolutely. So all standard stuff for your IP access. So it's all right here.
And then maintenance, we have some logging information, if I'm not mistaken, Jim, and firmware.
Right. So there's logging information and also firmware updating. So if we come out with updates for the machine, if we post something that can be downloaded, you would select a file just like you would for any other system. You'd look for something, find it, select it, and then hit update. And of course, you want to make sure your machine is on stable power, et cetera, so that way there's no interrupt during the update. So
and also very cool on the maintenance side. So say you guys are working on for integrators out there, you're working on a installation with multiple units. Number one, a good thing would be to name it, right? IP it, but let's say you only got one IP address, right? You don't know which one you're on. If Jim clicked on the LED blink, that will trigger the front panel of the unit you're actually working on. And
Yep.
you can, whoever's there can identify the unit physically.
That's
Cool
right.
feature.
Yep. Yeah. So you can do a quick ID without doing anything crazy.
Exactly. Jim, anything we missed in the software you want to bring up, or?
I don't think so. I mean, there's a way that we can pull logs out of here, not on this page, but in case we need logging, we can do that. But this is basically all of the different key points of the machine from a remote aspect. So it's something new to us and for our product in the multi-input, single output mixer amplifier category.
Yeah, it's a clean interface. It comes from the Lanubio's interface. If you guys are familiar with that, it's very straightforward. It's not super difficult. There's only a couple levels there of menu, so there's not a lot of menu diving going on. Jim's on the status page, which shows you the overview of how the unit's actually operating and how it's behaving in real time. Just make sure you have the auto sync calculated or checked off there to get that information. Also, the physical design of the unit, guys, it is a digital unit. It's super lightweight. It is digital. It's very efficient. Doesn't draw too much power, but it does operate up to 480 watts. I mean, that's a lot of power in. Jim, what does this unit weigh? Like
This
480
one, actually, let's go take a look. It's up here somewhere.
13 pounds?
Yeah,
Am I
it's
over
pretty
or
light.
under?
So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the bigger one, which would, in theory, be the heaviest, but it really doesn't apply in today's digital technology quite the same.
Yeah.
So here you go, not 12 pounds.
Right, as opposed to the 700 series, which was pretty solid, very solid actually.
Yeah, well, that's a conventional amplifier, push-pull AB design, so therefore it uses standard power supply, so the weight is substantially larger.
Okay, beautiful. And then the design of the unit, guys, what I was getting into, very simple, very modern looking, very sleek, super basic. So again, we want to give access to the end user, just enough so they don't have full control. The integrator is going to have full access to this guy in the back end at all times, whenever they want. And it's, straightforward. If they need some volume, if you install wall controllers as well, they'll have access, but that's all they have right there. We want to make sure they have enough and you guys have everything you need to be able to maintain the unit from anywhere, literally. Jim, Ted has a question. I'm assuming it's Ted Polis, perhaps. From an integrator, if future software updates might include the ability to create a more robust password beyond 8 characters. Jim, your thoughts?
So long as memory and capabilities are in there, it's possible. It would be a matter of asking in the next series of updates when that would come out.
Sure. Or we can ask our special guest, who may or may not want to join us, Mr. Dan Shore. Dan, are you there? You might be. Well, Ted, that's going to be, that'll be a future firmware request that we could definitely push ahead if that's something your integrators are looking for. So guys, great time to know that, yes, if you guys have any suggestions, especially on a digital unit, which can be updated at any time, yes, things like this can be added. Things like this are possible. So if there's something you need, if there's something you want, if we think it's a value added aspect and it's highly requested, sure, let's pitch it. Let's get it done potentially, and we'll bring it to market. That's one of the beauties of a digital piece of equipment, is you can do those changes without physically having to make a change. On the back end, it's software, but yeah. So Dan, you there? I think Dan's here.
Yes, I am. It took me a couple of minutes to figure out how to unmute myself there. So, as engineering manager, I am proud to announce I was finally able to do that. So, I think that that's something that we can address. The other thing is that since the access to the control is through IP, you can restrict that. You can lock that down pretty heavily with your network, and only allow certain MAC addresses to communicate with the machine. So that shouldn't be too tough.
Okay.
Hey, Jim, can you go back to the main window of the software of the browser interface?
Sure.
All right. So for all of you who are wondering what duck means, duck is the background music bus, which is input 5 and 6 on those RCA connectors. That is the only non-priority bus. Everything else is set in priority. So the 3 meters that you see on the left are for audio, duck, and chime. You can monitor your microphone level there or other audio source through there. Then your duck is the background music level coming through the system, and the chime is your chime level, which is adjustable manually on the back of the unit. Another advantage of this system is that software master control in there allows you to set a maximum volume for the system that cannot be overridden by either the front panel or a remote volume control.
Good point, Dan. Another question, unless Dan has something else to share. Dan, you want to continue
No.
on there? Or are we good? Okay. Charlie McDonald asked, could there be the ability to adjust input gain via the DSP at any time in the future? Dan, you want to comment on that?
I would not rule it out, but for this machine, realize this machine, its position in our lineup is between the BGM amplifiers, replacing the A-724. For control of input volumes, we really go up to the 9000 series. There is no way to control it right now. So I think that is not going to be something that's going to be happening in the near future.
Okay.
On this unit.
Excellent. Charlie, a great question. Again, these are things that we love to hear. We love to hear feedback. We have Dan commenting right now, who's our head of engineering, who can, make things happen and give you honest answers if it's possible, if it's not. So very good stuff. Jim, anything else you wanted to add, or Dan, regarding the GUI interface, DSP, anything like that?
I'd just like to add that we have this unit in a large project with over 1,000 stores throughout the United States. They are being used as the SIP paging system and background music for the stores. They're using 2 of the SP11N modules so that they can address backup SIP servers. And the client is very, very happy with that. So we've met with good success on this unit. It hasn't given us any real problems that we can see as of yet. So we're very happy about that. And it's performing as advertised, which we appreciate from headquarters.
Dan, also, correct me if I'm wrong, is that large project on a 25-volt line where we have a transformer available as well?
Some of the stores have older systems that have 25-volt speakers on them. So we have adapted our, excuse me, MT251HQ to be a 25-volt output. It hooks up directly to the 70-volt output of the unit and converts it to up to 480 watts. For 480 watts, you need to wire 2 in series. It's a 250-watt transformer normally.
Got it.
I can show you a picture of it. I think it's over on this page.
Absolutely. There she is. So if you guys have 25 volt systems, it's, we can do it. It's possible. So it could do a lot besides multi-zoning, true zoning. That's where that's, and true DSP, that's where you would step up to the 9000 series. This lies between that and the BG series, replacing the 700 series. So, but it's extremely versatile. And we do have some stock, I believe, I know we have some of the 120s. I'm sure on the 240s or 480s, but it's available. So it is ready to go. Okay. Jim, anything else you'd like to touch on that we may have missed?
No, I think we've covered the basic concept of that. And remember, if you need to do priority overrides, then, we take a look at our controllers, specifically our EMG version, the AT100, because this has the contact closure that would be the override that would be used with the 800 in a priority condition.
Excellent. Okay, guys, appreciate it. Dan, thanks for joining in, as always.
Hey, sorry I was late.
No worries. And Jim, thank you for sharing. We appreciate it.
Sure, anytime.
And guys, good questions. Thank you, Charlie and Ted. I appreciate it. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, digital unit, we can update it. If there's something that is of value that we think is a benefit for your integrators or your customers, it's totally possible. Next month, of course, we have InfoComm coming up. Jim and Dan will be there, and a couple of other of my colleagues as well. Next month, we have a intro to the IP-A1 series. And Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are that's something we are bringing to InfoComm. So this would be a webinar to kind of get you guys on board with where we're going in the IP direction.
Correct. Yeah, we will have those units at InfoComm. So come by and see us.
Perfect. All right, guys, that is it. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Happy June almost. Happy May. It's getting warm here. Hopefully the weather's nice where you guys are at. And yeah, take care and thanks for watching. We will see you next time on TOA's Advanced Insights webinars. Have a good one.